Hey everybody, it's Kerry. I'm here for our week ahead look from October 26th through November 1st, which is the last week of October. I just want to say thank you so much to everybody who's been watching and giving me feedback. I really appreciate it. And for those of you, I'm not going to put this at the end, I'm going to put it at the beginning. I am trying to get my rhythm up and do more videos besides just my monthly forecast and the look aheads. However much time I have, I'm trying. The next one I have queued up to do is a kind of an instructional video about how do you actually read these things. Like, not interpret, that's my job. You can learn that from me too. But I mean, just a really simple nuts and bolts one about how do I make sense of this. Maybe your astrologer has given you one of these things and you want to piece it out for yourself. So that's my next thing in the queue. But here's what I want to put out. I'm going to take a request. I want you guys to request something. Maybe it's the chart, a chart to look at, like a political figure or an entertainment figure, anything. Or maybe it's going to be a country, like I've done the United States recently, and there, if you look down in there, there's some other charts I've looked at. So give me your requests. Tell me what you want to hear, aside from the look ahead thing. And we'll work together on that. Okay, thanks. Anyway, let's look at this week ahead. And isn't this cool, this little rainbow thing? I'm not wearing sunglasses for you guys, but I can do it. All right, so this is the chart of today. Today is Saturday, October 25th. And what a week, right? There was a lot. Last Saturday was that big No Kings protest thing that went on, and not just the U.S., but in a lot of other countries. The U.S. government's pretty much still shut down, etc. That's where we are. But Halloween's coming up Friday. Should be fun. Anywho, this is today. You can see that in the last week, like right there, Mercury went from Libra over to Scorpio. Mercury and Mars have been pairing up and hanging out. Like today, Moon is in Scorpio with Mercury, but that's going to change quickly. But we've had this pairing of Mars and Mercury in Libra, which was kind of interesting because it created a lot of momentum with, even though nothing's seemingly been moving, there was a momentum startup, I would say, with Venus and Mercury having that exchange of signs. So at that point, now that's done. Venus alone is sitting in Virgo, and by Tuesday, sometime this week, Mars will be moving out of Libra and into Scorpio, his own sign. So that's interesting because it's going to make Mars really strong in its own sign. And it's like Monday. Monday, Mars moves. So Mars will be strong and Venus will be not strong. Venus in Virgo is debilitated. So is the sun sitting in Libra. So I feel like that as this week kicks off, we're going to start feeling a difference especially with Mars moving into Scorpio. The other thing that sets up with that is that Jupiter up there, JP up at 0 degrees Cancer, is casting an aspect into the very early degrees of both Scorpio and Pisces. So I don't know about you, but some things happened with me in my personal life this week. And I have to say it feels like, Jupiter punching into Cancer, kicking off an aspect to Mercury in Scorpio and Saturn in Pisces. I am working on the November forecast, actively writing it. We'll try to put it out as soon as I can. But I talk a lot in there about how in November we're going to have Saturn, Mercury, and Jupiter all retrograde after November 11th. And it's all in these early degrees of the water signs. Kind of interesting. It seems like a lot could change in November. Just heads up. You can read the whole forecast when it comes out. So back to now. Venus is staying at the very end of the week. Venus will be moving into Libra. So it's interesting. We got a kind of a spread out. We've got Jupiter alone, K2 alone, Venus alone. Pretty soon the sun will be alone because Mars is going to be moving. And we'll still have that pairing of Mars and Mercury. How I like to use that pairing is planning and efficiency and getting things done. And that will be a little easier with Mars in his own sign of Scorpio. And not having Rahu's aspect. So Rahu has been aspecting into Libra, still is, and Gemini. So when Jupiter moved, no more aspect from Rahu. And then when Mars and Mercury are moving out, no more aspect from Rahu, but we still have Rahu aspecting the debilitated sun. So there, still some excitement. But I think a lot of the shifts have come with that Jupiter moving, and that was on October 18th, last Saturday. Okay, so this is the thing. Generally, what's happening, the moon is waxing this week. And when we talk about the moon, it's the fastest moving planet through the zodiac. For me, the moon represents how every one of us, I mean, we have all the planets in our chart, we're the moon, we're the Saturn, we're the Mars. The moon in our chart shows us, how do I feel about what's happening to me? How am I reacting to what I think is happening to me? It's almost a feeling of I'm not really in control. I'm reacting to circumstances and situations. So every single day the moon is waxing or waning or in a new sign or with a different planet, which reflects how we think and get ourselves through each day. We have to be flexible and changeable, which sometimes is not helpful. So anyway, when the moon is waxing, as it will be this week, we feel a little bit more clarity, a little bit more energy. And I like it best when the moon is traveling through signs where no other planets are, or there's not really heavy aspects coming in. That's pretty rare, honestly. But we have a little bit of that this week. Once the moon moves out of Scorpio and into Sagittarius, we got Sagittarius, Capricorn, a few days of just the moon by itself, but, with some caveats and etc. So I'm going to advance us now. This is going to be the Sunday, October 26th. So moon is starting out that day in the nakshatra of Mula. Mula is a really intense nakshatra. The first nakshatras that are at the beginning of all the fire signs have a bit of intensity. They're associated with the planet Ketu, which causes disruptions and obstacles. The deity associated with Mula is Nritti, kind of an intense, fierce, feminine energy associated with endings, actually. So it's a good day to go deep, Sunday. The other thing I want to point out that Sagittarius is still receiving the aspect of Saturn, who's up there retrograde at 1 degree 51 minutes, sitting in the nakshatra of Purvabhadra, which is associated with Jupiter as well. But the point is that Saturn has an aspect to Sagittarius from Pisces, and so any planet that's coming into those early degrees of Sag at the moment is going to get that Saturn aspect, which usually feels like pressure or slowing things down, making things difficult, suffering. The retrograde nature of Saturn makes it just harder to predict how that's going to manifest. But when the Saturn aspect comes to the moon, it can be a little tough. It's because the moon is our mind and our emotions, and Saturn doesn't care how you feel, quite honestly. So it feels a little hard. So that's a Monday, Tuesday thing, Sunday, Monday, almost Tuesday thing. That the moon is going to be in positive Sagittarius, ruled by Jupiter, but getting that aspect of retrograde Saturn. So the message for me is keep going, walk forward, make your plans, get the information, but don't expect it to go smooth or fast, but keep going. Okay, let's go another day. Let's go to Monday. So Monday the 27th, the moon is, so I've lost myself. The moon's middle of Sagittarius is where it starts. It's the nakshatra's Purvashada. And Monday looks great, but look what happened. Mars, he jumped the fence from Libra into Scorpio overnight. So Monday will be the first day where we've got that Mars-Mercury pair back together again. And as I said, Jupiter up there aspecting the water signs, including Scorpio and Pisces in the early degrees. That means Jupiter's right straight looking at Mars as he gets into Scorpio, which I think is good. I think it's positive. I think that's nice. I like when Jupiter has an influence on Mars. Mars is power. Mars is fire. Mars isn't bad. Mars wants us to have food, clothes, and shelter. But when he gets scared, he gets a little aggressive and does stuff sometimes that you can't take back. So when Jupiter, our guru and our guide who encourages positivity, is aspecting Mars, I feel good about that. So we've got that going for us for the next few weeks, starting Monday. All right. And then other than really Jupiter's aspect into Scorpio, there's really not much other influence into Scorpio at the moment. Okay. So that to me resets our, hey, let's keep going. It might go slow. We might have to recalibrate and plan. But Mercury and Mars together really love efficiency and clarity and communication and strategy. And I feel like as long as Mars is in Scorpio, that will be helpful for all of that. Just a heads up, November 9th, we have a Mercury retrograde starting. I already mentioned that that's going to be happening, but it's November 9th is when that starts. So back up your drives. All right, Tuesday. This is Mars's day. The moon is at the very end of Sagittarius there. It's going to cruise over into Capricorn during that day. And again, you might feel a little more clarity at the beginning of this week as the moon kind of goes off into its own space, really. But let's remember that at least at the very beginning on Sunday, especially when Saturn is really aspecting the moon, Sunday tomorrow, it might be tough. It might feel like hard to get motivated. So, relax, take care of yourself, do some self-care, slow down. That's what Saturn always wants us to do. So Tuesday, Mars's day. Let's get going. I want to look at the sun here in Libra all by itself. I just think it's interesting. Debilitated sun means that it's in Venus's sign. The only one to help the sun right now would be Venus. Venus is in Virgo through this week. Venus doesn't love Virgo. It no longer has the connection with Mercury because Mercury's out of Venus's sign. So it feels a little stuck. It feels a little isolating to have both Sun and Venus debilitated and also nobody really to help them. So could be good depending on who Venus and Sun is in your life. Anyway, but Mercury's now gone over with Mars, and it seems like there's a project going on there, some kind of work and forward movement. So, all right, let's go to Wednesday. Wednesday, the moon's firmly in Capricorn. I believe that is the degree we would have. Let's see, Wednesday. Oh, Shravan. Shravan is the. I like Shravan. It's like I always say, oh, if you have moon in Shravan, you're probably a good listener. People are like, oh yeah, that's right. So Shravan's symbol is actually the ear. So there's a feeling of receptivity with the moon in general. Like the moon doesn't have light. It's just reflecting and receiving and reflecting light. So even the idea of hearing or receiving information, I think, is a moon thing. So Shravan is a moon-related nakshatra that sits all entirely inside of Saturn's territory. And for me, the moon and Saturn are something that's very soft and vulnerable versus something that's very hard and task-oriented. So it's always a little ouchy when the moon has to navigate Saturn energy. So maybe this is the day on Wednesday, over the hump day, where, you maybe take a little time out for yourself and listen to you, and listen to the other people. Maybe it's not a huge go get 'em kind of day, although Mars thinks it could be. Tuesday is Mars's day, Wednesday is Mercury's day. So with that pairing right there of Mercury and Mars, could be that Tuesday and Wednesday is pretty good as far as getting stuff done. And Saturn, who's supporting the moon while in Capricorn, loves getting stuff done too, just not fast. So here we go. All right, let's go move on to Thursday. Thursday is a Jupiter day. And Jupiter will be aspecting the moon the whole time while it's in Capricorn. But let's pause on this Jupiter thing for a second. I just want to say, I talk a lot about it in the monthly forecast, so I won't go off onto a huge tangent. But I really think that this period of time between October 18th, when Jupiter moved into Cancer, and December 5th, when Jupiter will go back into Gemini, because he'll be in retrograde motion starting on November 11th. I really feel like there's going to be some information and activities and situations that arise during this time that will be very informative next year when Jupiter goes back into Cancer for a much longer transit. So if you're a long-term looker and you're a year ahead thinking person, take clues right now from this Jupiter in Cancer section of time. And I had a friend reach out and said, I'm not really feeling this Jupiter thing because it's just it's only in 1 degree, it's 0 degrees. When I think about a planet right between signs, I think of it like we're walking from one room to another and we're walking through a doorway. And so we're in the threshold of that transition between two rooms. We're not in that room and we're not in that room. We're in between. So it's kind of like that. Like, how much can we actually do from a doorway? You know, you can't use the toilet if you're just in the doorway, and you can't go make a cup of soup if you're not really in the kitchen, right? So, I don't know. I just feel like it's like a testing ground almost. Tell me what you think. All right, so this is Thursday. Moon is going to be in Capricorn, and it will move Thursday night into Friday into Aquarius, which is when I think things are going to get a little more exciting because the moon is going to be with our friend Rahu. And on the best day, though, I mean, everybody masquerades on a Halloween. 31st of October, we celebrate as All Hallows Eve or Halloween. Rahu sometimes is shown as masked, having, you're putting on a different face, you're masquerading. What a perfect Halloween energy, I think, actually, with a strong leaning moon riding into Aquarius, meeting up with Rahu. Everybody can be anything they want to be. Saturn and Rahu, I want to point out, are still they're in different signs. Rahu's in Aquarius. Saturn is in Pisces. Pisces has Jupiter as its lord. Aquarius has both Rahu and Saturn as its rulers. So it's interesting because Purva Bhadra, the nakshatra, spans in between Aquarius and Pisces, and right now is holding both Rahu and Saturn. So Purva Bhadra is interesting. It has the symbology of it really leads me to like the deep sea and sea monsters and things that lie really, really deep in the ocean, which could be symbolic of subconscious things, etc. So I think it's interesting that we're going to have Saturn and Rahu are still going to be there in that nakshatra together, and the moon will get there the next day on Saturday. But on Friday, when it's Halloween, it's just interesting. And here's also where I'm going to point out that when Mars goes to Scorpio on Monday, it's setting up for an aspect a new set of aspects. Every planet does their own thing. Mars likes to aspect 4 away from him, across the board like everybody, and then also 8 from him. Kind of odd. So from Scorpio, Mars is hitting Aquarius and Taurus and Gemini. So Aquariuses, Tauruses, and Gemini. You're going to get that powerful Mars feeling during the time that he's in Scorpio, which is for a little while. So Mars is going to be aspecting our friend Rahu stronger and stronger as he advances through Scorpio. And so think of that as instability. Rahu is a little chaotic, a little unstable, super genius, really creative, but sometimes hard to follow. Mars likes plans and clarity and force. So with Mars beginning to tightly aspect Rahu as November advances, it might be like a feeling of taking control of chaos. So if you're in the mood for that, November could be for you. But good luck also, because we know how that always turns out. Anyway, sorry to make jokes, but that's just who I am. All right, so let's look at Saturday. This is November 1st, so we're now in a new month. Look how close Moon is to Rahu, very end of the week. And they're both in Purva Bhadra with Saturn. So as the moon gets stronger, our mental functions get a little looser. When Moon is with Rahu, it's sometimes hard to be clear. It's sometimes hard to see clearly or speak clearly or express yourself or know really what's true. So it's Halloween. Put your costume on. Go play. But otherwise too, I think as we get to the end of this week, even though the moon is waxing and getting stronger, I feel like it's all of this energy is pulling us really deep inside. When I think about Saturn and Rahu, I think of all the people on the planet. Saturn thinks, hey guys, you're not better than anybody else. You're going to be born and live your life and then go away. What makes you special? Rahu says, hey, yeah, that's true, what Saturn said. And, we're all here. We're all allowed to be here. I think of Rahu as representing the masses, all the people in general, which we're all different, right? Rahu, and that feels chaotic because we all have different abilities, needs, desires, and agendas. So Saturn and Rahu being pretty close still, that is a conjunction that was really intense last year, and it is breaking up. I should say earlier this year, really. And it is breaking up, but they're still in the same nakshatra. And I think it's kind of this, on a big picture scale, it's like, what are we doing? What are you doing? Are you really staying true to your roots and your desires? And are we taking care of ourselves in a collective in the right way? There's a lot of these thoughts being generated by the planets up there. So anyway, the moon will continue to wax as the weekend goes, and early November we'll have our full moon. But just kind of notice that once the moon gets in touch with Rahu and Saturn, things can be a little dramatic and a little difficult. Okay, so Saturday, Sunday, Monday next week, right? That's going to be the story with that. The other thing I want to say, there's 2 things I want to say. Look at Venus over here. Venus will be moving out of Virgo and into Libra on Saturday night. So by Sunday, Venus will join up with the sun in Libra. That we'll talk about that next week. And the other thing I want to say is, for those of you who are looking at the Rahu direct phenomenon, and when I say Rahu direct, if you're looking at my charts with me, when there's an underline under a planet, that means it's retrograde. So I'm using, for you geeks, I'm using true node calculation on these videos. So we're actually able to see, because this is Sri Jyoti Star is the software I use, put out by Vedic Software. It's great software. It actually shows you when Rahu is direct and when Rahu is retrograde. And so this week, for those of you tracking, Rahu will be direct Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And then by next Sunday, it'll be retrograde again. So what do I think can happen during Rahu direct? Maybe that we can bring a little order to chaos, or not be so bothered by messy things and able to just work with what we have and move forward. So, yeah. I always loved your comments, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Look out for the monthly forecast. It's coming. Give me your requests about what other non-look ahead kind of video you want to see next. And I will continue to do my thing here in sunny Colorado. It's a beautiful day, and I really appreciate all of you watching. Take care of yourselves. See you next week.